All right, welcome back everyone. So, learning my mistake from the last deck that I chose. The last one was my own creation, and sometimes it can go really well, but sometimes it can also go really badly. So for this list, I have chosen just kind of a tried and true list that was used in Japan, and it did won first place. I think it was a gym challenge or a Champions League. I forget exactly which one, but I'll put the link and such in the description because this is not my own creation. There's a lot of stuff going on here, but I think it can go really well. So, of course, I'm calling it a Mega Froslass deck, but it's not really. Mega Froslass is in here for that Resentful Refrain, 1 water energy. This attack does 50 damage for each card in your opponent's hand. But really, it's more about the Little Froslass with the Freezing Shroud ability. During Pokemon Checkup, put 1 damage counter on each Pokemon that has an ability, both yours and your opponent's, except any Froslass. So that's 1 in between each turn, and this does stack. So getting multiple of these out does mean multiple damage counters between turns. Then you can use your Munkidori to fling the ones on you over to them. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon has any darkness energy attached, you may move up to 3 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon. And then every other Pokemon in here is just kind of like help that strategy. So you can go with Budew for the Itchy Pollen. During your opponent's next turn, they can't play any item cards. This card is insanely good. It's only got 30 HP, but that's perfectly okay. And then the other Pokemon in here, so you've got the Shaymin for the Flower Curtain. Prevent all damage done to your bench Pokemon that don't have a rule box by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. And so kind of the main goal here is to keep your board at a single prize for as long as possible, because then they go under the protection of the curtain and you're not giving up that many prizes when they do take knockouts. We've also got the Tatsugiri as a support Pokemon for the Attract customers. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may look at the top 6 cards of your deck, reveal a supporter card you find there, and put it into your hand. Shuffle the other cards back into your deck. So this lets you find your supporters as long as Tatsugiri is in the active. You've also got the new Moltres from Phantasmal Flames, Fighting Wings. If your opponent's active Pokemon is a Pokemon EX, this attack does 90 more damage. So this would be really good against like grass type, leaf type decks, or metal type often has a fire weakness. So thinking of things like Goldingo. And then a couple of the interesting inclusions. Well, before I get to the interesting ones, let me get the last kind of standard one here. The Bloodmoon Ursaluna EX, of course, season skill, Bloodmoon used by this Pokemon costs 1 colorless energy less for each prize card your opponent has taken. So it starts with a cost of 5, can go down to a cost of free if they've taken 5 prize cards. So this can help you close out the game if your chip damage and monkey math hasn't closed it out for you already. So the 2 interesting ones that I would not have thought of, because I've faced decks like this before, but I've never seen these 2. So the Iron Thorns EX is in here for the initialization ability. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, Pokemon with a rule box in play, both yours and your opponent's, have no abilities except for future Pokemon. So that's Pokemon like EX, V, etc. So any EX Pokemon that have abilities don't have abilities as long as this guy's in the active spot. So this will shut off things like Pidgeot's Quick Search, Phesandipity's Flip the Script. So things like that. So if it's an EX, it has an ability, this guy's in the active, they no longer have an ability. And then another interesting inclusion that I can see being really beneficial is the non-EX Ting-Lu. For 1 fighting energy, Ground Crasher does 30 damage. If a stadium is in play, this attack also does 30 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon and discard that stadium. Don't apply weakness and resistance for bench Pokemon. So you've got your Froslass taking up damage all across the board. You've got Munkidori, who can put damage from your side onto their side. And then you've got this guy who can come in after stuff has been damaged for a bit, or maybe you just need to get rid of a stadium, and put a lot of damage on their side, because 30 by itself, not great. But when you do 30 to the active and all of the bench, that can really add up especially with all of that chip damage that you've been putting in. Okay, and so let's look at the trainers. So a big one that you'll see is the Artazon. Once during each player's turn, that player may search their deck for a basic Pokemon that doesn't have a rule box, put it onto their bench. Then that player shuffles their deck. So this can be used on basically everybody except for like the Iron Thorns, the Bloodmoon, and the Mega Froslass. Of course, it's not a basic and it's an EX, but you can get out your multiple monkeys, you can get out the Tatsugiri, the Ting-Lu, all of that stuff is available with that. And then for your supporters, you've got 4 Arven for, search your deck for an item and a tool, put them in your hand. You've got the Iono. Each player shuffles their hand, puts it on the bottom of their deck. And then if either player put any cards on the bottom in this way, each player draws a card for each of the remaining prize cards. And then Lulia's Determination, shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 6 cards. If you have exactly 6 prize cards remaining, draw 8 cards instead. And so this deck really likes to board wipe all at one time. So you're not usually taking just one knockout here, one knockout there, because it's spread damage. So you'll be drawing those 8 cards a lot. And then speaking of the items and tools, your main tools in here, you've got a couple of air balloons. So if you have a retreat cost of 2 or less, it becomes 2 less, and now it's free. So this lets you move some things around as needed. Bravery Charm, basic Pokemon this card is attached to, gets plus 50 HP, so you can put this on whatever basic you need in order to boost them, keep them out of harm's way. And then for items, you've got 2 Buddy-Buddy Poffin, just the 1 Counter Catcher, just the 1 Nest Ball, a couple of Night Stretchers, and then the ace spec is actually the Scoop Up Cyclone, so put one of your Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your hand. So we do have other cards that you see more often, so Penny lets you put a basic Pokemon and any cards attached into your hand. And then there's Turo, which can be used on any Pokemon, but you discard any cards attached. So this is kind of like the best of both worlds. You get to put any Pokemon, all cards attached, into your hand. So this lets you kind of pick up anything either that is no longer useful, has become a liability, is trapped in the active, etc. So there's all kinds of uses for this, and it is an item card, so you still get to use your supporter. And then there is just also 1 Ultra Ball. You can use this card. You have to discard 2 other cards in order to use it, and then you search your deck for any Pokemon, put it in your hand. So you can use this. Typically, it's probably going to be for the Mega Froslass, because the Nest Ball will work for the Iron Thorns and the Bloodmoon, but this Ultra Ball is the only way to search out the Mega Froslass because it's not a basic and it is EX, so it's the only thing that can't be searched by Nest Ball or the Artazon. And then a couple other tools that we have in here. We have the Technical Machine Devolution. Devolve each of your opponent's evolved Pokemon by putting the highest stage evolution card on it into your opponent's hand. So once you've ticked up some damage and it's enough to knock out whatever is underneath, then this can be used to board wipe. On the other side of that, you have your Technical Machine Evolution, so that you can evolve your Snowrunts into whatever Froslass you need. Normally it's going to be the Shrouded, the spread damage Froslass, Freezing Shroud, that's what it's called. And you kind of want to keep your Mega a secret because 1, it takes 3 prize cards. If they knock it out, they get 3 instead of the 1 for just the Snorunt. And also, you don't want to give away that they need to keep their hands small. A lot of cards, or a lot of decks like to draw a lot of cards. And so you can surprise them out of nowhere and take big knockouts like that. And then the other one in here is the Technical Machine Turbo Energize. Search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards and attach them to your bench Pokemon in any way that you like. Then shuffle your deck. And so the energy is where it gets interesting, because you've got 4 copies of Luminous. As long as this card is attached to a Pokemon, it provides every type of energy, or provides only 1 energy at a time. If the Pokemon this card is attached to has any other special energy, this card provides colorless energy instead. So this can be used by anybody, even your Snorunt, to power up the Froslass. So that's how you're going to get your water energy, because it works on evolution Pokemon. But what doesn't work on evolution is the Prism Energy. As long as this card is attached, it provides one colorless. If it's a basic Pokemon, it provides every type of energy, provides only one energy at a time. So the interaction between these two is interesting because Prism, if it's basic, lets it be whatever energy. But then if you also attach a Luminous, the Luminous becomes colorless energy. But that's okay because if you look at, like, for instance, Munkidori, if I had a Luminous and a Prism, that would satisfy the requirement because Prism would be the psychic and then Luminous would turn into colorless, so you're good. Over here on the Ting-Lu, you're really never going to use that Hammer-In ability, but if for whatever reason you really needed to, if you had 2 Prism and then a Luminous, that would satisfy the requirement of that. And then lastly, we do come with the 3 Darkness Energies because these are the only ones that will be searchable with the Turbo Energize. So again, if you do Darkness plus Luminous or Prism, then those would satisfy the Psychic requirement, and then you've got your Darkness to satisfy the Adrenobrain requirement. So it's a really interesting list. There's some things in here that I personally would not have thought to include, but I can see how they'd be beneficial. So we're going to try it out and we'll see how well we do.